that's then
First of all, just like to say good evening and Dashideli to everybody here who's come to the conversation tonight. And Khenpo has had a very good impression of the University of Virginia and is so glad to have the chance to actually be here in person tonight and have this chance to share his thoughts with you all. And the reason for Khenpo's very favourable impression of the University of Virginia has been its multifaceted research agenda. So the fact that it undertakes researches in all areas and not just necessarily focused on one. The human is not just material or materiality. It's a combination of the material and consciousness. So for that reason, it's not okay if we just research the physicality of the body or the physicality of the material world. So in addition to the research on the physical nature of things, since we're comprised of both a material component and the component of our mind or consciousness, it's very important that we also do research on the latter. So in terms of us, in terms of humans, our vital life force, or what makes us human, our soul or our consciousness, is of utmost importance. So the fact that scholars and students at University of Virginia research, in fact, the human consciousness and the human mind, psychology, is a very wonderful thing. And by combining a research approach that looks at both the physical and material and one that looks at psychology and more intangible aspects of the mind, we can develop a really healthy direction in terms of our academic research institutions. And this is the reason that I have a very good impression of the University of Virginia. And in relation to David's question about the role of monasteries as universities, Khenpo says that in terms of traditional Tibetan history, the monastery was in fact the university. There was no other university aside from the monastery. But in contemporary Tibet, obviously, there are now secular institutions of higher learning in addition to traditional monasteries. And in the secular institutions of higher learning, subjects are offered like maths and various branches of science. Whereas in the monasteries, the topics of study are religious topics and traditional Tibetan sciences. The educational system in monasteries is a comprehensive and complete educational system.
Teni gumbaga teni malak losong malak tinala pena nga tsummoga teni samba kandishego moga shiga kandishego teni moga ganlongda ganshut soto kandishego moyabo kandishego de korangso gumbaga losong mani yuyores.
And in terms of Tibetan ideas about human morality and conduct, character, how to be a good person, these ideas are derived from the monastery. Whereas in the secular institutions of higher learning, people are really learning about how to make money and how to make livelihoods. In terms of the traditional Tibetan education, whilst it's acknowledged that people need to have a livelihood and that they need material component to their existence, being a good person precedes these in importance. And so this notion of being a good person entails not doing harm to others and doing acts of benefit to others. And so the education that monasteries deliver primarily revolves around this. And in terms of Larunga, the monks and nuns, the residents there, the monastic residents there, pursue two streams of work or endeavour. The first being study or academic study, and the second being practice or meditation practice. And within this notion of practice, there are two parts. The first being the cultivation of one's mind, and the second being service to society.
So, well, I can't help but respond partially to how he characterized universities. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to say in response to that, does he really think that universities are primarily about making money and livelihood? Because that's not how we think of universities. Yeah. So.
다 그거 계속다 디 시초크 롭지 못하면서 데니 초와당 꾸무초야 디코라레 다 데가서 눕셔크 삼모당 좀 카가레 나서 그 삼모에는 데니 다 롭지 주무크 데니 누바 데니 다 잠나서 요레 데니 게디 동다 ngu마 데니 게카 그 롭자 데니 꾸무초야 마톡 데니 다 핀다 심바요
Mainly it's about making money in one's livelihood. It's not to say there aren't any other benefits, but...
Now,
Khenpo thinks that this is primarily what the Western value of is in universities.
Yeah. Well, since this isn't primarily a discussion about Western universities, I'll let that one pass. But we might come back to that. So, can you tell us, so what are the specialized organizational structures to correspond to those two types of activities? Mm-hmm. So some people are there to engage in academic study, mm-hmm. and others are there to engage in, as you described it, a type of practice, both contemplative practice as well as practice that helps you be of more service to society. So are there organizational structures that relate to that? For example, at the university here, we have 11 schools, and those schools cater different kinds of subject matters. So how is that organizationally expressed in the monastery and nunnery?
Yeah.
달라론가 그나마 디 롭진 기jutang di nyamnang gijeti muksa ge dini da drumshita malagayo.
Yes. Yes. Dios, so nala tini kani goyo. Kani nani mangchi shudu. Tini sojong shin tini nani chashi chukdu tini da parchi tini yacha sumchi jago. Tini zato tini nyamni shi.
Yes, there are. Of the students at Laronga, approximately 70%, the majority, pursue the academic route, and the other 30% follow the route of practice.
Now, could he tell us how many years people would study if they were to do the full curriculum in the academic college, and how many years they would study if they did the full curriculum in the meditative college? And also, do people typically do both, or is it kind of either or?
Yeah. 다 되니 시전한 중나 되니 로카츠 정고 되니 죽다나나 죽은 로카츠 정고 되니 무카시디 냠디 되니 시저 죽죽자 되니 냠디 죽긴
사장나나 로정시나 되니 로정야 보즈 그런 것 되니 당부 노름 당부니 되니 지그바디 야보즈 차청서 로정시나 로정하고 그랬어.
In terms of the academic path, if one was to pursue the full course from the first year until the end of the program, it would take 15 years.
되니 접자고 나라 되니 냠린 시킨도 소 나라이나 되니 또 고소 양 담보니 또 타마 파트 야보즈 되니 다시나 되니 로들라 되니 이거 지고 gomgo 그랬어. gomjeta gomjapjeta 되니 gomjap서 소종시니까 되로 등고.
And for those who are following the path of practice, a full course would take 7 years, and those 7 years would entail learning about meditation techniques and also meditational practice.
되니 로 등근나라 되니 다 그런 거 gom도 디나라 직종으로 말이다. 얘나다 그런 거 gom서티 로 등근나라 하고로 되니 냠뇽 갈아강 첨스되는 그런 거 요로 되니 대요송디 되니 로 등그 지라 되니 그런 사자장 바자서 문턴니 gom잡나 같이 되니 그런 거 gom서신로 되니.
And in terms of meditational practice, those 7 years are really for enabling students to gain an understanding of meditational methods and techniques. So it's assumed that within that time that they'll have a very thorough overview of meditational techniques. And during this time we'll also have been able to gain experience in meditation too, but the idea is that upon conclusion of the 7 years that they'll then be able to go on and pursue their practice beyond wherever they go after those 7 years.
And then the issue about how are the two related to each other? Is it more like some people do a bachelor's and you do a master's and a PhD, or are these really more like vocational school is for the meditation people, and this is more like going to college?
디니디 시저단 죽저다 그저디 치무스레 무카시나 디 베나디 다 치즈그 고름레 디니 무카시 디니 시저단 죽저 니가 디니 장교요 디니
니까진 그냥 요리나 뭔 말이지 되니 파치와 뜻니 소종 지근도 소종 지거리 되니 gomjam parchi teni lojong shi sarang la mambu ro mare teni lojong shin kan da so zo lojong shin ge shi ge na ti gomjam na la ro re ta na ko ti jor da bu shi ge.
In general, people follow one or the other of these paths. There are very few people who are doing both, or who formally take studies in both the academic path and the practice path. So in general, those who are doing meditational studies, they do not tend to take part in many academic classes for those who are pursuing the academic path, they may do meditation on the side of their academic studies, but they're not formally enrolled in the meditation program.
So having spent a lot of time with both types of people in Tibet, you know, I know from experience.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll try to speak up a little bit since Aaron said there were some problems hearing us. I certainly have no problem projecting my voice, so we'll see how you do. So my question is, having spent a lot of time with both meditators and people who've gone through 15 years, by the way, that's what he said, 15 years of academic study in order to get a monastic degree, I know that both sides can sometimes be a little less respectful of each other than you might hope. So, for example, the meditators will call the ones who do philosophical study tokgewa, which means like, you know, just kind of useless intellectuals, more or less. And then the ones who do the academic study will often call the meditators like mi shempa, you know, it's like ignorant. So I'm wondering, and of course there's also examples of people who blend both and a lot of respect for both sides, but I wonder what percentage of those would you say that actually go through the academic college really develop a deep contemplative personal practice?
Through the college, the academic path.
And yeah, not that they learn it in the college, but just along the way, as he said.
Then David Kozina, Nangyun, then working London, then Logic Nala, Dakoso, then Lopchon Kutala, Tola, then Shukchibu, then Japkon Kutso, then Gumruk, then Pension Kutso Yapo, Samsayana, then Kutso Pension, then Zikud and Kriship Shake Yomari Kashizena, then Kutso Lopchon Shake and Kutso Toka was a ray, then Kutso Juk, then Gumruk, Japkon Kutso, then Rigname was a ray. Oh yeah, then Larunga ina di Kutso Rikni Kaloma Waka, then Drewatang, Samsuchi Musare, then it remember then that Chekisana Larunga Nang, then Larunga Junkin Kaloma, so Kutso Lupchong, the Korum Treat Muni, Gomkin Yamlin, then he treats a topo, Topkin, Mambo Ayus.
Maranso Lo Jibju Manchula, then Yanchula Sonsati, then Korama, then Koranga, then Chapata, Zobata, Zombata, Koto Jikanganala on Rogo Mari, Lo Jibju Yanchuni, then Koram Gum Tata Shikiri, Sherdanga to Gala, Jim Mambo Chajo, Koram Jikanala on Rogo Mari.
Okay. So to start with, Khenpo is starting by saying that for those who come to Larunga when if they are 40 years old or above, then they're not required to take part in any formal classes, so no academic classes. There are a lot of examinations at Larunga. That's a big component of the academic studies, and those who come to Larunga who are age 40 or above are not required to take part in any exams or any formal academic classes. Whereas those who are younger, particularly in their 20s, then they tend to really be doing academic study, following the study path, and they are not doing much meditation practice. In terms of studies of subjects like logic, which require a great deal of erudition and sharpness in the mind, the Tibetan tradition holds that it's necessary for students who want to study these things to do so before they're age 25. I suppose the assumption being that the brain's capacity weans off after this. Yes, thinking that after 25 one really can't get really good results in one's study of these subjects.
lo ni sitanga yan chode choti teni tsumambo lo lan zayaka teni rupa mambo rang samlo ta zoba jaw ti tsu sama lo ni sitanga yan chumi te mar jan dos.
Before one is 25, the ability to memorize a great deal of information, to, I suppose, spin the cogs of your brain rather quickly, to debate, all of these sorts of things are considered to be one's capacities are at their sharpest, whereas after age 25, the decline begins.
teni lo nishi na lo da jwanga chi yan chu ta teni nishi na manchu te la ko so so jong de zo she kare gum jap ji te la ko so hale pan thong chin mo chi ke ma du.
So for younger students in their mid-teens to really about their mid-20s, their main pursuit is academic study and they don't really do much meditation practice at all.
teni nga so garan da boy na te teni lo sim chi la to ni sim chi ni jip che par tin dis la yang lo jong yang chi gom jap ko ni ga de che dus.
And at Larunga, students who are around the age of 30, sort of say in 30s towards 40, they're expected to do both study and meditation practice.
teni lo ji chi yan chi ni teni ko so lo jong mambo chi mo du zo to gom jap ko dus.
And after age 40, then not much academic study. The main thing is meditation practice.
ina de mang chi shu de de je ma ta ba yang ka shi chong chong ge ka sa de lo jang a chi chi ka ni gom tak tak jam kan da da ni yang ka shi lo nga chi chi re na da ro ho jong mo shi de ri ores.
Of course, there are exceptions to the general rule. There are some people who start to learn meditation at a very young age, 15 or age 16, and there are also some people who at age 50 and 60 are still reading books.